Life as a child was so easy. Almost everything was planned out for you. This was the school you went to, these were your friends, this was what you're going to have for dinner. You came home after school, you did your homework, you went to bed, and then you just repeat the same process. As if there was no uncertainty to it, because if anything went wrong, your mom or your dad had everything under control. At the end of the day, if you scraped your knee, just run to your mom or your dad. They'll fix you up, and life was good. But as you grow up, things tend to feel a lot more uncertain because mommy or daddy or whoever's taking care of you as a child aren't always there. And if they're there, they're not able to fix your problems. And the only person that you can rely on, no, the only person you should be relying on is God. But at times it can feel extremely hard. In the books of Matthew and Mark, Jesus calls us to have childlike faith, or to be more like children. As a child trusts in their parents, we should trust in God. But it's really hard to do that when you're waiting on something that you're not sure will happen, or if it happens, how it will happen, or when it will happen, or where it will happen. All these things can make you feel very anxious. Remember, God does not want us to be anxious. First thing I want to speak about is faith and laziness. These two things aren't really talked about much in conjunction, but they do heavily relate to each other. When you are waiting on God, you have to have faith, right? You have to be sure in what you hope for and certain in what you believe in. Let's say you really want this job, right? And you pray to God, you ask Him for help, and you have faith that eventually He will provide for you, which is good. You are relying on God and you are trusting in Him. But if you haven't put in any effort by filling in that job application, making your CV look nice, or dressing up nicely to the interview, then your faith is almost meaningless. James chapter 2 verse 17 says, "In the same way, faith by itself, if not accompanied by action, is dead." I'm not saying that you have to wear a suit and tie to every job interview you go to, or you're never going to get a job in your life. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if you trust in God and you have faith in God to provide for you for a certain thing, you're going to have to put a little bit of effort in yourself. Something I tend to forget when I'm waiting on the Lord is that God's timing is not our timing. I was in a situation where I was thinking, Lord, I need this opportunity within the next week. And if I don't get it within this next week, my life is over. I'm finished. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't know what's going to happen. Long story short, everything worked out, not within a time frame that I expected, but it all worked out. But if you're waiting for something to happen within a day or a week, and it happens within a day or a week, thank God, God is good. But if it doesn't happen within that day or week that you expected it to happen, just know that God does not operate on the same calendar as you and I. A great example from the Bible of God's perfect timing is the story of Joseph. Okay, quick debrief. So Joseph was the son of Jacob, right? And he had a lot of brothers. Remember, Joseph was this guy in the Bible with a multicolored coat that his dad gave him, and his brothers were extremely jealous of him. So they literally sold him to slavery in Egypt. And while he was a slave, he was falsely accused and thrown into prison. And at the time, the king of Egypt, which was the Pharaoh, had trouble interpreting his dreams. So he asked so many people, sorcerers here and there, please interpret my dreams, and no one could do it. But then they remembered about this guy called Joseph in prison that could interpret dreams. So then Pharaoh summoned Joseph, and through God's wisdom and God working through Joseph, he was able to interpret Pharaoh's dreams and warn him about the upcoming famine that was going to approach Egypt. And literally within a couple days, or I think it was a day, Joseph became second in command in the whole of Egypt. So if Joseph had not been sold by his brothers on that day, or had someone not remembered him to interpret Pharaoh's dreams on that day, none of that would have happened. So it was all through God's perfect timing that Joseph was able to go from being almost a nobody to the second in command in the whole of Egypt. So as you wait, just trust in God's good and perfect timing. The other day I was on YouTube and I was watching this video about trusting in God. And the pastor said this quote, and I was like, wow, this is probably one of the top 10 hardest Christian quotes out there. And it says, Christianity is comforting, not always comfortable. And it really spoke to me. It reminded me of when I used to play a lot of sports. So the one match we were up against one of the top teams in the country, and those guys were massive. I'm talking Goliath. They were giants. I'm not joking. They were giants. But in our team, we had this one guy. Let's say his name was Kevin. And Kevin was literally, he was the best player in our team. And whenever I was on the field, I was like, okay, I'm nervous, but Kevin's on the field as well. And Kevin's on my team. So I don't care what happens because Kevin's on my team. It doesn't mean the game was easy. Yes, the game was quite hard. The game was rough. But it was a comforting feeling to know that I had Kevin on my team. So, as a Christian, you will go through hard times. And I find one of the hardest times for me personally is to wait. It's waiting on the Lord. Just to sit back and to trust in something that seems so uncertain to me because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. Just to trust. I find that quite a hard time. But it is reassuring knowing that the God who made the whole universe, who made the land, the seas, the mountains, the trees, the oceans, he made time. Like, how do you make time? I can't comprehend that. He made absolutely everything. He's there at the beginning and at the end, and he's there with me currently as I'm waiting. And when the opportunity or scenario or whatever comes my way, God will be there with me. And I find that quite comforting. But otherwise, that's all I have to say for today. Let me know if you like the background music or the Terraria gameplay in the background. Otherwise, may you all have a good day further.